Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to CAIIB MCQ sessions. So in this session, in the BRBL subject, we will be now shifting towards module A. Okay, so module A, first thing, which is legal framework on regulation of banks. Okay, so this we will be doing today, and the questions related to legal framework of regulation of banking is what we're going to do today. We'll try to understand what are the different questions that usually come in the examination. बहुत सारे questions अलग अलग टाइप के पूछे जाते हैं, सिंपल डेफिनेशन बेस्ड भी पूछ लेते हैं. They also ask you case study based questions and they also ask you sometimes application based questions as well. तो उन सारे questions को कैसे डील करना है, किस किस तरीके के questions आते हैं, वो सारे questions हम लोग आज करेंगे. Some portion of legal framework we'll do today, some portion we'll do in the next class. Chaliye. Let's start with the first question. As per section 5B of the Banking Regulation Act, which of the following is the key characteristic of the banking business? तो banking business का key feature क्या है? Is it accepting deposits that are repayable only after a fixed tenure? तो सबसे पहले अगर आपको कहीं only दिखे तो until unless we are talking about a specific aspect, only wale statements are usually wrong. Okay, agar especially if we talk about the generic things, agar generic या फिर larger aspect की बात कर रहे हैं, for example banking in general हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, तो वहां पर only possibilities are very much few. So you focus on statements that cover a large portion of areas. So if you see over here, accepting deposits for lending or investment, repayable on demand or otherwise. It includes each and every aspect, whether we are talking about demand or whether we are talking about otherwise, which includes after a fixed tenure as well. Okay, so in this case, the correct answer would be B, accepting deposits for lending or investment, repayable on demand or otherwise. Chaliye. Now let's move on. If we see over here, next question, XYZ Limited is a manufacturing company that accepts deposits from the public to fund operations. Based on section 8 of the Banking Regulation Act, which of the following is true about this company? First option, it is considered a banking company. It is prohibited from accepting deposits. It is not a banking company. It must obtain an RBI license to continue its business. It can accept deposit only if it offers interest on them. So sometimes it also happens कि options आपको लग रहा है कि बहुत सारे options सही है, but उन सारे options में सबसे पहला option जो सबसे ज़्यादा सही है, उस चीज़ का भी आपको ध्यान रखना है. So in this case, if you like to see which of the following statement you would find will be the most true as per section 8 of the Banking Regulation Act. See, section 8 of the Banking Regulation clearly says, a bank is an entity which is primarily, doing a banking activity. So, यहाँ पर this company is primarily a manufacturing company. So, thereby, you directly said it that it is not a banking company. Okay? Because its primary business is manufacturing. So, C will be the correct answer. Next question. Which of the following statement is true about primary agricultural credit societies, PSCS? What do you think is the correct answer? So they function as the state level to regulate cooperative banking, which is obviously incorrect because they are not functioning at the state level. So state level पर तो state cooperative societies है. They are regulated by Reserve Bank of India under Banking Regulation Act, which is also not true. They provide long-term agricultural credit and financing for industrial projects. No, because primary agricultural credit societies normally work at the lowest level. Okay, and they ensure fulfillment of short-term needs, credit needs of the people and villagers and farmers. So they are the grassroots unit of rural cooperative banking and fall outside the purview of Reserve Bank of India. So D will be the correct answer because they're working at the grassroots unit, not district, not state. Okay, एकदम grassroots level पर these entities are working. Next question, a bank wants to expand its operation and is considering engaging in the following activities. Which one is not permitted under Section 6 of the Banking Regulation Act? What do you think is the correct answer over here? See, first thing is granting letters of credit and traveler's check. What's the issue on this? तो ये तो allow कर देना चाहिए बैंक को, so this statement would be incorrect. Trading in bullion and foreign exchange, which is also allowed to a particular bank if they become authorized dealer. All of you already know that. Undertaking manufacturing of financial equipment. So this does not come under the purview of banking activity. So thereby C is the correct answer. Okay? Rest all the banks are already allowed to do. Chaliye, next question, a banking company acquires an immovable property in satisfaction of a loan default. जब भी कोई loan, you know, if somebody has taken a loan, if he or she is not able to pay and he or she has defaulted on the loan, okay, so what does a bank do? Bank usually takes their house property and they try to sell it. Okay, so if a house property or any immovable property a bank acquires, so what is the guideline that is written with respect to disposal of this property? Within how many years the bank needs to dispose of this property? What do you think is the correct answer? See, the correct answer is 7 years. 7 साल के अंदर अंदर अगर आपने जब भी किसी का लोन डिफॉल्ट हुआ है तो आपने उसकी प्रॉपर्टी अपने पास रख ली, विद इन 7 years यू नीड टू डिस्पोज ऑफ दैट प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है, आप उसको सेल करो, आप उसको जो करना है करो, लेकिन 7 साल के अंदर अंदर आप उस प्रॉपर्टी को सेटल डाउन करो. ABC Bank has been holding a non-banking asset for 7 years but has been unable to dispose of it. What is the maximum extension period RBI can grant under Section 9? तो वही सेम प्रोविजन था. आप 7 साल तक उस प्रॉपर्टी को सेटल नहीं कर पाए तो आपको कितना एक्सटेंशन और मिल सकता है? हाउ मच मोर इयर्स ऑफ एक्सटेंशन कैन यू गेट इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू डिस्पोज ऑफ दैट एसेट विद इन 7 years? आपको कितना एक्सटेंशन और मिलेगा? What do you think is the correct answer? The correct answer in this case is 5 years. ठीक है, तो 5 साल का extension you will also get. Next question, which of the following businesses is a banking company not permitted to engage under the Banking Regulation Act? Which of the following businesses is a banking company not permitted to engage in under banking regulation? Is it the accepting and discounting of bills, issuing letters of credit, managing estates, engaging in stock broking, undertaking agency business? So all these options, A, B, C and E, they are, for every bank they are allowed to do those activities, but stock broking does not constitute banking business. So D is incorrect, therefore correct answer would be D. Because they have asked not, उन्होंने not पूछा है तो D नहीं कर सकते, therefore D is the correct answer. Similarly, there is this bank called DEF Bank which owns a commercial building as an investment property. According to the Banking Regulation Act, what should the bank do with this property? कोई भी बैंक ने एक property खरीदी है for long term investments. First of all, tell me, is this allowed under Banking Regulation Act? If this is not allowed, then obviously try to identify the correct statement. What do you think is the correct answer? The correct answer is B. Sell or dispose of it within 7 years unless extended by Reserve Bank of India. वही same चीज, आपको इसको सेल कर देना है तुरंत, कोई आप लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए नहीं रखेंगे. नेक्स्ट थिंग, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग करेक्टली डिस्क्राइब्स अ बैंक ब्रांच एज पर बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट? बैंक ब्रांच को डिफाइन कैसे करेंगे आप? हाउ डू यू डिफाइन अ बैंक ब्रांच? तो किसी भी ब्रांच में व्हाट आर द वेरियस एक्टिविटीज दैट हैपन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ व्हिच यू कैन सिलेक्ट व्हाट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. So any physical location where financial transactions occur, सही बात है. So A is the correct answer. Next question, a foreign bank is operating in India and wants to expand its services. Under the Banking Regulation Act, which of the following activities is it explicitly prohibited from conducting? मतलब foreign bank expand करना चाहती है, ऐसी कौन सी activity है which is not allowed for foreign bank to engage into? Is it granting loans? Is it buying and selling foreign exchange? Is it acquiring immovable property as a long-term investment? Issuing letters of credit? Accepting deposits from Indian residents? तो यहाँ साफ साफ बोल रखा है they are not allowed to acquire immovable property as a long-term investment. आपको मैंने पहले भी बताया था Reserve Bank of India is much more restrictive with respect to this. फॉरेन बैंक्स को तो कंप्लीटली मना कर दिया है. इंडियन बैंक्स अगर इन्वेस्ट करती भी हैं तो उनको 7 साल के अंदर डिस्पोज ऑफ करना है. नेक्स्ट इज विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग एंटिटीज कैन कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ बैंक इन इंडिया? बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट अंडर स्पेशल स्टैट्यूट, कंपनी रजिस्टर्ड अंडर कंपनीज एक्ट, कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी, फॉरेन कंपनी रजिस्टर्ड अंडर कंपनीज एक्ट. ऑल ऑफ देम कैन बी कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड एज अ बैंक. ठीक है, किसी एक एक्टिविटी के एक लॉ के थ्रू आप बैंक नहीं बनते हो. आप इन सारे लॉ के थ्रू अगर आप अपना एंटिटी सेटअप करते हो, यू कैन बी कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड एज अ बैंक ऑल्सो. एज पर रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, शेड्यूल्ड बैंक मस्ट हैव अ मिनिमम पेड अप कैपिटल एंड रेज फंड्स ऑफ एटलीस्ट. तो ये तो सिंपल सा है, मतलब कितना पैसा है शुरुआत में किसी भी शेड्यूल्ड कमर्शियल बैंक्स को रखना होता है? 5 लाख. ठीक है, एज पर द बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट द अमाउंट इज 5 लाख. Now, which of the following is not a privilege of a scheduled bank? Access to RBI financial assistance? Yes, it is allowed. Automatic membership in clearing houses? Also, it is a privilege. Eligibility for deposit insurance? Yes, it is also. Exemption from statutory liquidity ratio? This is not a privilege, rather it is an obligation. Scheduled commercial bank needs to maintain 18% SLR. तो दिस इज ऑब्लिगेशन नॉट अ प्रिविलेज. ऑब्लिगेशन क्या होता है, प्रिविलेज क्या होता है कि मतलब आप शेड्यूल कमर्शियल बैंक हो तो आपको ये हक मिलेगा. ठीक है, तो आप एसएलआर से भाग थोड़ा सकते हो. एसएलआर तो आपको करना पड़ेगा, तो वो तो आपकी मजबूरी हो गई, मतलब ऑब्लिगेशन हो गया, तो प्रिविलेज नहीं है. विच सेक्शन ऑफ आरबीआई एक्ट गवर्न्स शेड्यूल्ड बैंक्स? सिंपल सा है, सेक्शन 42(6). Which of the following is a characteristic of non-scheduled banks? देखो, scheduled banks होती हैं, non-scheduled banks होती हैं. Scheduled banks कौन सी होती हैं? Those which are mentioned in the second schedule of Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. तो non-scheduled की क्या खास बात है? They cannot borrow from Reserve Bank of India for regular operations. So C is the correct answer, क्योंकि B तो scheduled banks बोलते हैं उनको. ठीक है, cash reserves non-scheduled bank can maintain with themselves, with RBI or with any other bank also, depending upon their discretion. Okay. Next thing, which of the following is a key distinction between payment banks and small finance bank? See, payment banks can accept deposits while small finance bank can only accept deposit from priority sector borrower. Incorrect. Payment banks can lend, पहले ही गलत हो गया, वो तो lend करना allowed ही नहीं है उनको. Payment banks must invest all their deposits in government securities, while SFBs can provide credit to small borrowers. Correct. So C will be the correct answer. ठीक है, ये चीज तो गलत है. 500 करोड़ का तो है नहीं मिनिमम कैपिटल, और PBs as well as SFBs both are regulated by Reserve Bank of India. Next question, public sector banks are constituted under which act? So public sector banks are constituted under Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertaking Act 1970 and 80. The banking bank nationalization happened, this happened under this law only. The primary objective of local area bank is what? तो ये तो conceptual है. Is it to compete with foreign banks? No. Provide credit exclusively to urban regions. Strengthen institutional credit mechanism in rural and semi-urban areas. Issue government securities, regulate insurance companies. Correct answer is C. Strengthen institutional credit mechanism in rural and semi-urban areas. The first regional rural bank in India was what? The correct answer is B. Prathama Bank. So all of you understand that regional rural banks need sponsor bank also. Regional rural banks को sponsor bank भी चाहिए होते हैं कि नहीं चाहिए होते हैं? Sponsor bank also they need. So first RRB you already understand which is Prathama Bank. फिर first sponsor bank कौन सा है? अच्छा उसका क्वेश्चन अलग है, पहले ये क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं. That RRBs were established on the recommendation of which committee? The correct answer is Narasimham committee. A. Which bank sponsored the first RRB in India? This is the question which I was asking. And here the correct answer is B. Syndicate Bank. So Syndicate Bank was the first sponsor bank, or the bank which sponsored the first RRB in India. Next question, what is the key distinction between scheduled and non-scheduled? Which we've already discussed that scheduled banks are listed in second schedule of the RBI Act. So this is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Next question, which of the following banks fall under the category of differentiated banks? So differentiated banks are those type of banks which are established for specific purpose. अब नॉर्मल आप HDFC बैंक में जाओगे तो उसमें आप बहुत सारे काम करवा सकते हो. But for example, if I've only made payment banks, so payment banks is specifically for payment banks or payment purposes. Small finance banks specifically catering to farmers as well as MSMEs. So these are what we call differentiated banks. उस basis पे आप identify कर लो. तो public sector नहीं है, foreign bank भी नहीं है, cooperative भी नहीं है, LABs भी नहीं है. B. Small finance bank is the correct answer. Last question, the idea of differentiated banks in modern India gained momentum after RBI paper. Which committee was later formed to study financial services for small business and low income households? Correct answer is Nachiket More committee. Okay. So this is all for today. I hope you guys understood the nature of the questions that come in CAIIB. Okay, in the next session, we will be completing the rest of the portion in the legal regulation of banking business. Okay, so thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.